On this week's episode, we talk about Ferrari looking half decent at home and papaya rules going right out the window. Hello and welcome to another episode of Back of the Grid. I'm Tom and I'm joined as always by Chris.
Evening.
Good evening. How did you feel about this race in general? I'm going to dive straight in. Let's not focus immediately on this team orders thing because we'll give that its whole section.
How do you
feel about the race in general?
First sort of 3 or 4 laps were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then everybody ended up back in the order they started in. And then not a lot happened for a while until a few people started crashing into each other.
Yeah, I thought overall it was a little, outside of those opening laps, essentially became a little bit dull, and we sort of fell into a bit of a lull where we were just waiting for a safety car. Everyone was able to go a lot longer than expected on tyres. It led to a point where you had a whole host of cars just going literally as far as they can on medium tyres, just waiting for a safety car to happen. Couple of occasions of one being flirted with people bumping into each other, like you say, but then all amounting to nothing and just people taking the pit stops. So
I think this race was great evidence that we are due a new set of regulations because the cars are all so close together and so aerodynamically efficient this many years into the regulations. Like I saw a thing with Alex Albon before the race, and he basically said even at Monza, the slipstream's not really that much of a thing anymore because the cars are so aerodynamically efficient that actually you're better off not having anyone in front of you because they're so aerodynamically sensitive. Like the slipstream doesn't really help you that much, even at Monza. And
Yeah, it was kind of evident, wasn't it? I mean, especially when you've got a car, for example, like the Red Bull, that's just set up to be as slippery in the air as possible in a straight line. You're not going to gain any advantage behind a car like that because it's taking so little. Like it's dragging so little in the first place, so there's not much to be gained by slipping in behind it because it's just so fast in a straight line on its own. And I think that's a big part from a setup perspective why like the Red Bull did quite well this weekend because they put themselves in a position where it's all or nothing on build a slippery straight line car, which is not the usual Red Bull way to set up a car, but I guess when you're in the position there in this season, it's what you have to do, isn't it, at a circuit like this?
Yeah, I mean, they had a couple of different Monza spec wings, and they tested the sort of lowest downforce, slipperiest one on Friday, and the team was saying, looking at the data, we don't think this is a good idea, and Max actually pushed to stick with it, and ended up, pulling off pole in the win. So, yeah.
I mean, do you want to go into the big?
Should we just do McLaren
debate?
first?
Should we just get it out of the way first?
I've got so many thoughts on this. I need to not just like stream of consciousness this and try and keep it vaguely structured.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let's begin with like the inciting incident, I guess, which is team basically saying, Norris, come on in for some new softs. And Norris said, do you want to pit the other car first? I've seen talk and suggestion of, why is Norris trying to protect his title rival from being, undercut by Leclerc or whatever. Norris was not thinking of Piastri in the slightest. Norris was trying to protect himself from a safety car for as long as possible.
Yeah, he was just playing the numbers game on, if he goes first and there is an incident, I can benefit. He's got nothing to do with protecting him from Leclerc.
Lando,
because I think he expressly said, as long as there's no undercut,
Yeah,
pit him first, or something. Maybe not exactly verbatim those words, but it was along the lines of saying, as long as he won't get a major advantage from an undercut, pit him first.
yeah,
Which it's the lead driver of the two's prerogative to make that call. Like,
it is.
generally, it works out that it means the lead driver pits first. But I guess in this slightly backward scenario where you're almost hanging out as long as possible waiting for the safety car, and those mediums would have probably gone to the end relatively comfortable as well. So they were just eking it out as long as possible. It's one of those few scenarios where the benefit is technically with the car pitting second. So, and usually it's your lead driver's decision as to how and when they want to pit, and in order to maximize their advantage, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, Leclerc was never gonna. Leclerc would only be able to undercut Piastri if like Piastri had some kind of issue in the stop.
Yeah.
But like Lando Norris would have loved nothing more than Leclerc to have got past Piastri. Like,
Yeah.
he was just looking after himself in that moment, which, as you say, he's entitled to do. But I also think in that instance, the team are entitled to and probably should have said, no, you're coming in first. Like, I think that the team, I think that was probably the first mistake the team made, which is putting themselves into a situation where nonsense can happen. Very reminiscent of Hungary last year, which the team themselves referenced on the radio. Because obviously then we had Norris having a slow stop, which Norris generally has got the worst of the pit stops this year, and I don't think it's anything to do with him missing his marks. I think it is just one of those things.
He might have been very fractionally forward in the stop that was slow, but it was within the tolerance, I would say. Like, he was a little bit long, but nothing major. If you actually look at the replay back, it's either that the nut doesn't go on properly or that the gun itself doesn't acknowledge that the nut's gone on properly.
Yeah,
because
so
there's obviously the systems in the guns to say this wheel nut has been done up. And if you look at the gun when the person on the gun takes it away, it's sort of flashing between green and red, and it's one of the tire mechanics, I think, that is like either responsible for putting on or taking off one of the tires, kind of nudges the person on the gun to say it's still flashing, and then they put it back in, give the trigger another squeeze, and then it acknowledges that it's good to go, and it lets the whole system continue. Obviously, they can't really just override that and go without, because if the gun's suggesting that the nut's not on properly, you run the risk of it being considered an unsafely released car if something does go wrong. So you do have to wait and put the gun back on, even if the gun was wrong. Even if that wheel was on firmly and securely, they have to do it the way they did it, because that's far less of a penalty than what it would be if they'd sent it out and the wheel had not been secured correctly.
Exactly. Like I say, at best, that's like potentially a penalty. At worst, that could be a DNF if the wheel does just come off halfway around the lap. Like, so yeah, I mean, you have to do it right, but that then ended up with Piastri undercutting Norris.
Mm-hmm.
The team asked Piastri to give the position back, referencing Hungary last year, which is slightly bizarre. Like, Piastri argued it a little bit, but not much. I'm back and forth on whether Piastri was right to give the place back or not. Like, I think he was very much playing the, I'm in a very good place with the team I'm in here. Now's not the moment to rock the boat any more than it needs to be, kind of thing. But I just can't help thinking that in that same situation, Verstappen ain't giving that place back.
No,
Vettel's not giving that place back. Schumacher's not giving that place back.
Verstappen and
Hamilton Hamilton I'm less certain on, but probably Hamilton's not giving that place back either.
You've seen similar scenarios with Vettel and Verstappen
Yeah.
before. I mean, Norris was extremely reluctant to give the place back in Hungary. I think the thing that they referenced, but I think the only slight difference there that I would say went in his favour a little bit was more that he'd had real pace and pulled out a huge gap and sort of warranted being able to stay ahead. This is very different. And I think, I just wasn't a fan. Like, don't get me wrong, you sit there in the moment and you think, wow, that's pit stops cost Norris points to Piastri when he was due to gain a few back. Like, that's not good for Norris's title fight. And it becomes a disappoint. Like, as someone who picking a driver and team combination, if you force me to follow one driver and team forever for the season, like, that's who I'm going to go with right now. That's just my combination. That's like who I'd like to support. But I come away from that being far more disappointed with it finishing the way it has than if Norris had finished third and been let down by a bad pit stop.
Yeah.
I'm actually more deflated and disappointed as a McLaren fan, leaning more towards the Norris side of the garage than I'm more disappointed with this outcome than I am with if the slow stop had cost him second place and he'd gone to third.
And what frustrates me more than anything is that it's much like Hungary last year. It's a situation entirely of the team's own making. Like, they went along with what Norris said, which was not the plan they originally had in place. They then basically promised him, you will not be undercut. Then they messed up a pit stop. Then they had to start asking on the radio to swap places back, all of which is unnecessary. All they had to do was say, no box this lap. None of this happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's
or in
like,
Norris's favour, it does happen, but it happens the other way. And
well, potentially,
Piastri's behind, has a slow stop, and
that's the argument against
behind.
That's the argument against swapping the places back. It's like, pit stops are one of the most perilous parts of a driver's race because it's something that's out of the driver's control, and these things happen. So I think there's a good point to bring in something Alex Brundle said today online. I defer to all Brundles in all matters of F1. So Alex Brundle said, clarifying a misunderstanding on the Piastri-Norris switch, McLaren has a pre-agreed situational set of racing rules covering various happenings. It will be nowhere as basic as one parity rule. Yesterday's switch creates no precedent other than the same scenario occurring again. Anything else will be covered by a different rule/agreement. So extreme comparisons, like if one now stops or crashes, the other one has to park up, doesn't hold water. Which makes sense. I've seen some people saying like, "Oh, sorry, Oscar, Lando's crashed. So can you have a crash as well, please?" Like, that's obviously silly.
Yeah,
but McLaren has this prearranged situational set of racing rules. Clearly, one of them is if the driver ahead gets undercut by a bad pit stop, we swap the cars back. Why? That is such micromanaging. And it's so unnecessary. I just can't think of another team. Ironically, the only time I can think of a team micromanaging a result this much is McLaren back in the Hacken and Coulthard days, because they engineered or finished order of them a handful of times, and that didn't go down very well with people either. It is a different
Ferrari
sort of situation.
In like Barrichello, Schumacher days.
I suppose so.
A little bit in Fernando, Felipe days as well. Alonso and Massa. Like,
you expect it more with Ferrari, I suppose, because they're very much a number one, number two driver team.
So that then leads me to where I was going to go with that, which is there's a big difference between those scenarios that we talk about, like Schumacher versus whatever teammate, Alonso versus whatever teammate, Vettel to some degree, Verstappen to some degree in recent years, and someone like Hakkinen when Coulthard was his teammate. All those scenarios that I've named, there is an absolutely clear, hands down, no question, number one driver in that scenario.
Yeah.
The only one that's even remotely debatable would probably be Alonso to Massa, but everybody in that situation at Ferrari knew Alonso was number one driver in that scenario. Even if they didn't want to believe it, that's the way it was. And that's not the case at McLaren. But whether there is some predefined rules somewhere that they're operating to that they agree before the race or whatever it might be, this suggests that there is a favoured number one, regardless if there's rules in place or not. Because now they're in a predicament where, should this happen at all again throughout the season, they are going to be expected to repeat the result and swap the cars if this happens again in any capacity.
And there's from certain portions of fandom, there's a narrative that the team prefers Lando to Oscar and that they would want him to win, and Zach Brown always looks happier when Lando wins. I don't buy into that. I think that's fine, finding controversy where it doesn't exist. However, this sort of stuff doesn't help, does it? And if Lando now goes on an amazing run and wins every race for the rest of the season and clinches the title, that title will be devalued in a lot of people's eyes because of things like this. And it's so frustrating. There's no need for the team to be interfering this much. There's no need for that. I love that this season McLaren are letting the two of them race. They are letting the two of them call their own strategies, and sometimes one of the drivers will call a strategy that gives an advantage. I love that they're letting them do that, but it seems like they're only doing that because they also have this list of rules of if X happens, then Y must happen. It's sport. You can't do it like that. It's such, I don't know, it almost feels like going back to the old sort of very boring corporate days of McLaren where it was run like a business first and a sports team second. You don't need to micromanage them this much and to have all these internal rules. And it's just kind of boring as a fan as well. You don't want to see championship fights being decided by things like this.
I refer you to the winningest driver of all time. This is getting manipulated, man.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's things like this is what that is. Yes, in certain scenarios, there's an argument to ask them to switch places. Like the whole. I mean, I might be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure the whole thing in Hungary was that they let Norris pass for some reason, under the premise that if he couldn't achieve whatever he was supposed to achieve, he was supposed to switch back. Also,
no, it was the same. It was a similar thing. He was second, and they gave him the first pit stop to protect him. Ironically, from Leclerc. I think it was
actually the same thing, then, wasn't it? Technically,
more or less, yeah. The only difference was they were close on track, so it caused a natural undercut. It wasn't like a pit stop error in that situation.
Yes, it was an actual undercut in Hungary.
Yeah, whereas this time it was caused by a team error.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I think that because of obviously the way I'm remembering it, he was able to then pull out a gap with that clean air. They inadvertently caused the undercut, didn't they, by giving him the clean air by pitting him first, yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's where they're going with this, look, Oscar, that one time he did the same thing for you. You need to do it back.
Maybe, but
they leave it alone from now on because they're considering it even. But it doesn't mean I like it anymore. I still don't like it.
And I don't think you should be using something that happened in a previous season to dictate what happens.
Yeah. I mean, again, it comes back to I know we make these sort of points all the time, generally speaking, but imagine that it comes down to the 3 points or whatever it is, the difference between those places.
Yeah, I think so.
Or, I mean, well, actually, I'll read this inbox because this inbox probably leads into the point. I'm going to pull something up from inbox. So Luke sent us a message saying, "Hey man, regardless of who wins the world title, are McLaren devaluing that person's championship with their apparent need to keep things quote unquote fair between the drivers? Hypothetically, if it goes down to the last race and the leading driver has a slow pit stop that gives the second driver the lead, are they then going to ask that driver to give up the world title and swap positions back?" That's the precedent that McLaren are setting themselves. That if it's that close in Abu Dhabi and something similar to this happens, like, one driver's in first, the other driver's in second, or whatever, one driver's ahead of the other, like, and they're running together, but the lead of those two cars has a slow stop or whatever it might be, or I don't know, for argument's sake, one does get the pit under the safety car and one doesn't, are they then going to swap them back? Like, imagine like a safety car or a virtual safety car is called, like, as the lead car is exiting the final corner and the second car's coming in, so they get like the full advantage of the safety car pit stop, the virtual safety car pit stop, and then the other car doesn't because the virtual safety car then clears. Are they going to swap them back even if it means changing the title's hands? Like, I don't think they'll get as much compliance from either of them. I mean, you saw how much of a fight Lando Norris put up in Budapest. Yes, Piastri did give it back relatively easily and quickly this time out, but I think something you said before, like, the fact that he's the one in the lead in the championship, he's got a relatively comfortable gap. It's for a smaller number of points because it's second and third, not first and second. There's a lot of factors where he's playing the long game. I think there are situations later in the season or other circumstances where Oscar fights that harder. I think he's going along with that because it's only a smaller number of points between the two positions. Andy already has the lead, and there's still like 8 races to go, and he could essentially cash that check at some point in the future for himself. That's what he's banking on.
But it's true what Luke says. No question though. It's like if this does go down to the last race and this exact situation occurs, if this is their racing rules, then that's what should happen. And I guarantee you, whichever driver's advantaged by that is not just going to let the other guy through. Like, that's just, McLaren are completely fooling themselves if they think the drivers are going to follow these situational rules to the letter for the entire season. It's really frustrating, and it's just, honestly, the sooner these two have a crash, the better, because the way this season's being like going right now, it's, we've had playing championships where things have just got a bit too heated and a bit too silly, but this championship is so far the other way. It's all so, we're best buds, everybody's fair and equal. No, after you. Like, we want a little bit of spice. Like, come on, guys. You can't just be best friends helping each other out and also fighting for a championship.
It does make me wonder what it's actually like behind closed doors.
Yes. I mean, I don't think Mark Webber will have been best pleased after that, given some of the racing situations he's been in the past.
Yeah, there is that.
Well, Sarah posed an interesting question in the chat. If Lando's retirement at Zandvoort hadn't happened, would this situation still have happened? And I think, based on like what Alex Brundle said about the racing rules, I think it probably would have. But again, in terms of the optics of how the team are doing things, doesn't look great for them. Like, the week after bad luck goes Lando way, suddenly it's like, oh no, we'll put him back in front. We'll get him some points back. Like, it doesn't look. It's not a good look. Really, not a good look.
Yeah, and the thing is even if Lando's DNF hadn't happened in the Dutch Grand Prix, it doesn't make the fact that this has played out the way it has any better, or worse for that matter.
I think it's worth noting as well that in the laps leading up to the pit stops, Piastri had closed that gap
Yeah.
a lot more. And, you know, I don't think he was ever going to catch Norris and have the pace to overtake him. But he had closed that gap
The gap was coming
enough
down,
to put himself in a position to take advantage of anything that goes wrong for Norris, whatever that may be. And for that to then immediately just, no, back you go. Like,
yeah.
It's really frustrating. And just not an exciting way for a world championship to be fought, honestly.
No, again, it comes back to the point from a few weeks ago of if no matter which one of them wins it now, I scrap that. If Norris wins it now, it's gonna be, oh yeah, but it might not have happened if it wasn't for giving you this place back. Like, especially if it's within those 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna tarnish that. I mean, as a driver, he wouldn't care. It's going to be the whole Rosberg thing of, I don't care, I want a world title. Screw you guys. But, like, forevermore, that is all you will ever hear.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if it's true or not. Like, that's all you will hear about that championship forever, if that's how it plays out. So I'm just hoping that it's now a convincing win one way or the other, so that doesn't matter, without any more interference. But I think I'm asking for too much. So,
yeah. Right.
Should we talk about something else?
Talk about some other drivers and teams.
Yeah.
We should probably mention Max Verstappen. He won.
I definitely think we need to mention Max Verstappen. Because, like, setup extremities aside, what a drive to just take it to the McLarens and battle with them to some degree as well. Like in
I mean, stages. He lost the lead at the start and had the pace to pass Norris on track. He kept the lead by cutting the corner on the first lap, and at least from what we heard, didn't complain about it and gave the place back, which made a nice change.
Yeah, the team asked him to give it back, and he relatively much complied. I don't think there was much pushback from him. I mean, what do you think about that as an incident? Do you think he should have been giving it back, or?
I think so. Yeah, like again, by the letter of the rules, Norris had the right to be there, and Verstappen kept the place by cutting the corner. So it was a lot like Saudi Arabia back at the start of the season, very similar, and he gave the place back
to that.
So I think that's probably right. But I mean, to then have the pace to stay with a McLaren and overtake it is not something we've seen very often this season. So and then he won by 19 seconds in the end. Massive drive from him, really impressive.
Yeah, huge. Kudos for him being able to commentate and add punditry to the McLaren situation whilst racing.
That was very funny.
Just he was, I mean, I'm sure most people listening to this will have heard it, but if you haven't, it was essentially being told that he noticed Norris and Piastri were the other way around, and I think he must have asked how that had happened, at which point GP told him Norris had a slow stop and Piastri's now ahead. And then GP, not long after that, came back on the radio to say they've switched places. McLaren have told Piastri to let Norris through. And Verstappen's just there chuckling on the radio saying, what, just because he had a slow stop? And just adding a little bit of punditry to the whole situation, which I found really funny.
Which is so clearly him thinking, in no world would I do that.
Well, yeah, I think that is exactly what he's thinking. He's Oscar is too soft is probably his general thought process there.
Worth noting as well that his pole position lap, which was incredible in and of itself, was also the fastest ever lap in Formula One.
I believe the result is the fastest race victory.
Fastest ever race time as well, yeah.
Maybe not ever, but at Monza.
No, I think it's ever.
Is
1
it
minute?
Ever?
Or in terms of a race that's gone full distance anyway.
Yeah.
It was 1 hour, 30 minutes, 24 seconds, which is very short for a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, this is what Stefano Domenicali wants, though, right? He thinks an hour and a half too long, so bet he loved it. I mean, even then, he was the shortest ever race time, and nothing happened. Still,
this is the bit where Stefano's like chirps up with, "Well, an extra 10 million people watched that race. Look, I was right," forgetting that like there's an entire 10 million tifosi that only tune into one race all season.
Yeah,
they don't watch any of the others. They just watch this one race.
Yeah. Speaking of tifosi, I mean, Ferrari always just do a bit better at Monza, and they did have a bit of an upturn in performance. Leclerc was there fighting with Piastri at the start for a bit, but didn't have the race-long pace for it.
Good battle, though, while it lasted.
Yeah, it was some good wheel-to-wheel stuff. I don't know if you've seen the onboard of Piastri passing Leclerc at... first Lesmo, he got past him.
Not seen it from on board, no, only seen the external ones.
It looks tight from the external. When you see the onboard, boy, oh boy, he did not have much room to play with. That was a big move, very impressive.
Yeah.
Although Hamilton had given he was coming into his first Monza race at Ferrari with a penalty hanging over him, it was a pretty solid weekend. Like, we didn't really see the ups and downs we've got used to. He was kind of on the pace early on. I mean, he topped FP1. That's clearly low fuel, new tyres, crank the engine up just to keep Tifosi happy, because Ferrari often turn up top of the timesheets in practice. But
especially
he seemed pretty solid and on it all weekend, which I think he needed.
He seemed relatively comfortable this weekend and relatively happy, which is a move in the right direction for him and that whole thing, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah. He made some good overtakes as well. The Ferrari car looked a lot nicer this weekend as well, because they put a bit more white on it, which made the HP logo look less horrific.
Yeah, it reminded me very much of the. It was the Vettel, and I know it was supposed to be in a little bit of a nod to the Lauda era Ferrari, but it actually ended up reminding me of the Vettel Raikkonen.
That's what I thought of as well,
because that always had the big white airbox as well as those squared number cards or whatever you want to call them on the car with the big black bold numbers. So yeah, it looked quite nice. I think I probably did prefer it. Yeah, I think I did prefer it to the core livery. Maybe they should keep it like that for the rest of the season. They might get some good results.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, good points to them. Their lead over Mercedes is up to 20 points now. They were neck and neck for a whole first half of the season, but Ferrari are kind of gradually extending that lead now, helped by the fact that Mercedes had not a great one.
A bit mid for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, George Russell just had one of his completely anonymous, and he turns up in the top 5 weekends, which he does a lot. Yeah. Toto Wolff called Antonelli's weekend underwhelming, which is one way of putting it. Another off it was practice 2, I think, wasn't it, where he beached it in the gravel and lost a bit of time, which is becoming a bit of a habit of his, which is not good. He did qualify right behind Russell in 6th place, which is his best qualifying since Canada. So that was a high point.
Well, was it not 7th, but he inherited 6th because of Hamilton's penalty?
Yes,
just for clarity.
Yeah. He did, however, lose 4 of those places at the start because he had a ton of wheel spin. Yeah, tons of wheel spin. He also got a black and white flag for track limits.
Yes, he did.
And a 5-second penalty for forcing Albon off when they were battling, and fell to 9th place. Although that is still his best finish in 6 races. So not a great run Antonelli is on at all. Also notable that neither of their drivers have got a contract for next year still, which feels very weird at this point in time.
Especially
when
all the Verstappen stuff's settled now.
Yeah, all the other big players are kind of set now. It's weird that neither of them have still been given. You'd have thought, it was Monza last year when they announced Antonelli's getting the Mercedes drive. You'd have
thought he binned it in practice.
Yeah,
funnily enough,
you'd have thought this would have been a good weekend to say, we're giving him another year, another 2 years or whatever. Yeah, it's weird, and the fact that the Russell thing's like rumbling on so long is odd as well. Like, there's definitely something with the negotiations there that's
Mm.
still not quite working out.
I mean, the Antonelli one, obviously, with him starting out so well, but then sort of, let's say, struggling under the pressure of having to maintain that, they might do something like give him a year and see if he settles down. But honestly, I don't know how much patience Mercedes would have overall if he continued sort of trundling around outside the points and making mistakes. Like, there's only so much Mercedes as a team will put up with, even if he is
Yeah,
like naturally so. Like, he's naturally fast, we know that, but there's no point in being naturally fast if you're gonna make mistakes and give yourself penalties and cost yourself running time. That means that you don't get to actually deploy that natural pace on a race weekend.
I mean,
So
Toto Wolff has said repeatedly that he's expected to make mistakes. You know, he's a rookie, he's going to make mistakes and stuff. Like, but the raw speed's there, so he needs to put his money where his mouth is. Really, at this
give him a
point, because
contract.
like Antonelli's kind of doing exactly what Toto Wolff said he probably would do and would be okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, give him another year at this point.
just
Maybe that'll help him
announce
settle down a bit. I don't know. Then again, we said that about Perez, didn't we? And that didn't work out for him. But
it.
very different situation there.
Yeah, very different scenario there for Perez.
Let's do Williams next.
Okay, yeah,
Albon in the points again. 10
yeah,
points finishes for Albon this season.
yeah. It's good.
He actually, Williams are looking really good in practice and then kind of fluffed qualifying a game, which has been
Yeah,
a
and
bit
that's
of a
really
theme this
annoying
year,
for
hasn't
me
it?
and my GridRival / F1 fantasy team, because I keep seeing very good practice results, putting some faith in one or the other, and then it all falling apart come qualifying on a race
Yeah,
weekend.
such as the
So
perils.
yeah, but that is
But
what it
he
is.
made up for it in the race, up to seventh place in the end from 14th on the grid. He started on hards and went further than anyone else that finished in the top 10 on those hards, and then used that bare rubber to chase down Antonelli in the closing stages. So he's ahead of Antonelli in the championship now, which Albon's kind of said that's like his fight that he's paying attention to for the rest of the
Yeah,
season. Now he's making sure he beats Antonelli, which would be to beat a Mercedes driver in a Williams would be a good scalp for him. So
yeah, definitely.
yeah. Those points now put William on 86 points this season, which I read this earlier and I kind of almost double checked it. Williams' 86 points this season is more than their past 7 seasons combined.
Wow, that's
Considering
crazy.
considering James Vels for a few years now has been saying, I don't care about these next few seasons, I only care about 2026. They've turned up this year and are just racking up the points in a season they supposedly don't care about.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean that's nothing but positive, though, is it? Really, when you
No,
think about it.
and I think it just shows like gain. It's not just gains in terms of the car they built. I think that's gains in the whole operation, the way he's
Yeah,
made improvements all over the place, kind of showing dividends, which is great
definitely.
to see. Right. For a second week in a row, we need to talk about Carlos Sainz and penalties. Because Sainz was on the opposite strategy to Albon. He started on the mediums, I think I'm right in saying. Where's he gone? Yeah, he started on the mediums and took them deep into the race. Played the team game, let Albon past, and he was holding some people behind. He dropped out of the points, but he was kind of fighting back into the points after his pit stop until he had a crash with Ollie Behrman, and they kind of both ended up spinning, for which Ollie Behrman was given a 10-second penalty and a penalty point or two. And given last week, we watched Carlos Sainz basically get driven into by Liam Lawson and then be given a penalty. This week, Carlos Sainz has very much put his car in a place that's going to cause an incident. And we've watched the other driver get a penalty. Like,
yeah, the inconsistency is a little bit silly. I don't think it warrants a penalty on either. I'll say that's where I stand on it. I
Agreed.
don't think either of them should be getting a penalty. But I do definitely think that it's for me. It's a racing incident. I think I can't be any more than that. Like Carlos needs to be aware of the fact that he's just gone wheel to wheel with the guy, outbraked him, and leave him some space on the apex. Behrman does, however, also kind of need to know he's been beaten and not keep his nose so far in the corner. But I think it's definitely not a Behrman penalty. And I think if you were going to forcibly put a penalty anywhere, you'd have thought it was on Sainz for essentially not making a clean overtake, because I think technically in that situation, in that corner, he's considered the overtaking vehicle at that point still. Even though he's ahead as they come into the corner, he's the one coming from behind, so he's the overtaking vehicle, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Behrman was ahead going down the straight, and Sainz kind of
and
put his nose
Sainz
ahead
out dragged him into the corner and outbraked him a little bit.
And
but I think Sainz still has to leave him room on the inside to make the corner. He's got to know that he's not just going to disappear.
He's turned into a space where a car is. And I agree with you. I think this and the Lawson one last week were probably both racing incidents.
Yeah.
But if you watch them both side by side and said, give Carlos Sainz a penalty for one of them, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
Absolutely bizarre. That puts Ollie Behrman on to 10 penalty points. So he's only 2 away from a race ban now.
Careful, doesn't he?
He
shouldn't be on that many, because I don't think, I think the race penalty is enough there. If anything, too harsh. I don't think they should be having penalty points on for that, but that's just me.
So he doesn't have any expire until the 3rd of November. So
he's got some hanging over him from his standing races.
So his points are for Brazil last year, collision with Colapinto.
So that's a standing race for Sauber.
Yeah. Then Monaco this year overtaking under red flags in practice. Britain this year crashing under red flags in practice. And then 2 from this weekend just gone. So how many races is that?
He got penalty points. Wait, what did he do under the red flags that caused him to crash? That he got penalty points
at Silverstone.
Yeah.
He came steaming into the pit lane under red flags, and then when he hit the brakes, he spun into the wall, remember?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and he got a big, hefty 4 points.
It was
for that,
all right. I was just thinking,
so.
If there's a red flag situation, because, the track was... I'm trying to remember what happened, because I was just, thinking, if they're red flagging it because the track's not safe to be racing on, and then he's crashed, feels harsh giving him penalty points. I was trying to replay in my head what it was that he'd done, but yeah, I remember now.
So he has got to survive
until at least November.
Baku, Singapore, Kota, and Mexico before any of his points expire, which he's going to have to be very careful there.
Baku can be tight as well.
Yeah. And lots of potential for red flags in Baku as well, which proves to be an Achilles heel of his.
Mortal enemy of a wild Behrman.
Last couple of drivers I'll mention before we do some awards. Bortoleto equalled his best ever grid position of 7th place. He had a slow pit stop, but he recovered back to finish 8th. More points for him. Sauber now are only 7 points behind Aston Martin, who are in 6th place, largely because Alonso lost the points he was running in with the suspension failure. Which is a weird one because, it didn't it was bouncing over a curb, but it didn't look excessive. But
I think it's just some brittle carbon fibre.
Yeah, suspension's weird like that, isn't it? It's incredibly strong when it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but as soon as there's a force that it's not designed for, it can crumble very quickly. And then I mentioned to Isaac Hadjar again. He followed up his debut podium by going out in Q1 for the first time ever. Actually, didn't realize he's never been out in Q1 until now. He started from the pit lane with new engine components and actually climbed his way back into the points. Very good drive from him.
Yeah, it's the second time in 2 weeks, in 2 races, because Behrman did that last time out.
Yes,
Pit lane to points.
Good point.
So, yeah, there you go. Right.
Leads nicely to
the driver of the day, yeah. Let's put some candidates out there. Who do you believe is driver of the day worthy?
Honourable mention to Verstappen, because that was just a very, very good drive to take a car, a car that's not the class of the field with a very, I would guess not the easiest setup to drive, but very good drive to do that. Isaac Hadjar, as you just mentioned, pit lane to points is always worth a mention, but for me, I think it's got to be Albon. Sort of bringing that car from low on the grid up into the points, kind of even like mixing it with much faster cars at certain points, overtaking the Mercedes. Really good drive from Albon again.
Yeah, 14th to 7th, I think it works out officially for Albon.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
he would be my pick.
I was going to go with Verstappen for just smashing it all weekend, pretty much. And just getting the setup right in order to be able to take a fight to the McLarens. But I can see why you'd want to go lower down the grid, so I'll happily give it Albon. Move of the day, is there really a candidate outside of Piastri getting round the outside of Leclerc at the first Lesmo? Is there another candidate for move of the day?
I don't think so. Like we did see other overtakes throughout the race, largely through the turn 1-2 chicane or the turn 4-5 chicanes, and that were good, solid moves. Max's pass on Norris to retake the lead was It was a fairly textbook turn 1 Monza move, but it was very well executed and very clean. But I don't think any of them come close to that Piastri move around the outside. No one makes overtakes.
It's the commitment to do it at Lesmo, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. So that one's an easy one then.
Yeah.
And then the last award.
Honestly, what the f*** are we doing here?
There's actually a few. And not all of them are the most obvious one that you would think we were going to go for. We've got... Well, all weekend I was earmarking the trophies because we saw them going into the weekend and we're like, what on earth is that? A number of suggestions through the Discord over the weekend for what they looked like. That I'll not repeat all of them here, but
my favourite one is it looks like something out of the current Alien TV series, which was already giving me nightmares, and that's not going to help.
Yeah. So there was the trophies that just looked.
But at least
bizarre.
These trophies didn't break if you put them on the floor too hard.
Not that we know of yet.
Yeah.
There was the fact that Verstappen completed the fastest ever lap at Monza and wasn't to be seen.
Let's just
and also to back that up, by the way, like kind of an adjacent WTF was when Verstappen set that lap and went pole. What was so frustrating to me for some reason was on F1 TV commentary. I always forget his name. Someone in Discord, namely Sarah, probably will remind me of who I'm talking about in a moment. But shouting, Lando Norris! I'm like, why is he shouting Lando Norris? It's Max Verstappen. He's like, he's done a bit of a David Croft, let's say, and got caught up in a moment and screamed, Lando Norris has been knocked off pole by Max Verstappen. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, but it's been said with in such a weird way. It's like really put me off. Is it Alex J? Is it Alex Jakes, isn't it? There we go. That's what I'm thinking of.
He does get a bit excited sometimes, bless him, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it was just like a very weird way to announce that Verstappen was on pole, and we missed most of the lap anyway. Yeah. Crazy.
You've just reminded me of another one mentioning Crofty.
Mm-hmm.
When Lando went out onto the podium and there were some boos because of what had happened.
That's a bit of a WTF for me as well, actually. We don't know the entire situation, but as far as I'm aware from what I've seen and what was generally being reported, from the moment the pit stop went wrong, Norris basically didn't say anything, allegedly, at all, positive or negative. Which means at no point, if that is the case, has he asked to be let back through. I get that maybe the boos are coming more from boo, the team shouldn't have let you be where you are, but it feels very harsh booing the driver on the podium when, I mean, yeah, fair enough, he could have maybe declined to take the place, but then it just starts getting silly. Yeah, I feel like the boos were a little bit of a WTF. It felt harsh because it was McLaren's decision to do that. It was McLaren who did that, and he didn't. If he'd have been on the radio saying, "Oh, let me through, that's your fault. You've screwed me over," then yeah, maybe a bit "Come on, Norris, grow up." But as far as I'm aware, none of that's happened. So It just felt a little bit off and unnecessary to boo. I don't like booing the drivers on the podium anyway. And full stop. Even if you can like them, you can not like them. It doesn't matter. But no matter who it's been over the years, I've never been a fan of booing people on the podium. It just seems unnecessary. But yeah.
However, when that did happen, Crofty said, I think what he said was, as Norris was walking out, it was "Oh, I'm not sure if they are jeers or cheers for Norris." It was a real life, are they saying boo or boo earns? It was ludicrous. Oh no, they're saying Lando. They're not saying boo. Come on.
Are they saying boo or boo earns?
Yeah, it was legitimately that. Oh, don't know if they're jeering or cheering. I'm shut up. You know what's happening.
Oh.
This is why people say there's horrific British bias on Sky, because you say nonsense like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong though when he makes silly comments like that, isn't it?
It's just been posted in Discord.
Yeah, there's the tweet from McLaren of pictures you can hear.
We can hear it, all right?
You can literally hear them booing. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing, we've mentioned Sainz and Behrman penalty scenario being a bit of a mess. I think ultimately it comes down to McLaren just making an entire mess of it. Like you say, could have been solved a lot easier whereby they could have just pitted them the traditional way around and stopped messing around doing it the way that they were. They could have got the pit stop right. They could have not guilt-tripped Piastri into giving the place back once the pit stop had gone wrong and just said, how many teams would have let that ride out as it was, and then the radio would have been something like at the end of the race, a bit of a dejected race engineer to the driver just saying, really sorry, whoever, we've let you down. You've driven great today. We're sorry that we've cost you a place. That's the general gist, right? Whenever we see these scenarios in the past. And I know that's not necessarily always teammate to teammate that happens, but that's the general gist that you go with, right? Of, we're sorry, we've let you down. But we'll talk about it after, kind of thing. Not swap places. Oh, I don't know. It's got to be McLaren, hasn't it? It's got to be.
Just the way. Just everything McLaren.
Yeah, everything McLaren this week. Right, let's see what that's done for predictions. Chris, you and I scored an unusual point apiece. We both went with 18 finishes and got that one correct. In terms of everybody else, our best scorer this week was Andrew Rushton with 3 points, getting Max Verstappen's pole correct, 18 finishes correct, and Hamilton's position of 6th correct. I'm now ruining my decision to not bump him up a place after you went 5th, and I decided to stay 7th just in case. But there you go, that is life. What that does for the overall standings, Michael Labaldus is still in the lead with 22 points, but we now have a 3-way tie for second, so 3 people all on 21 points. We've got Gordon Barham, Lockman 4000, and Luke Cruikshank is our 3 people tied in second. So all very, very close there, with still a number of races to go out and score points in. Those of you who may be wondering why you didn't get a point for Nico Hülkenberg as first DNF if you had him, I don't know if there was anyone out there, I didn't check, but in order to not finish, you must start, is how we always put it. And Nico Hülkenberg did not officially start the race. He's down as a did not start. So the official first DNF is Fernando Alonso. So technically only 1 DNF, but 18 finishes, obviously. So that is where the point goes there, for anyone wondering how that played out this week. Over in the Fantasy League, the official F1 Fantasy League, I can't work out how to say this, and I can't work out if it's a pun that I'm just not getting. Slarty Bartfast? 337 points. Well done. Keep these interesting names coming. I swear some of these names are just like they are to try and trip me up when it comes to this segment every week. And Wine Racing is our overall leader, as it has been for a while, with 3,706 points. Over in GridRival, Clarence 90 is our winner for the Italian Grand Prix with 1,038 points. And Sazzo 123 is the leader overall there with 15,334 points. And that wraps up Inbox. Inbox predictions even. We've pulled the bits of Inbox that we've had into the show because it made sense to do it, so we haven't even got Inbox to do. Do you have any parting words, Chris, before I outro us through this?
Any parting words?
Sum up your feelings on the Italian GP in 5 words or less.
Stop faffing around, McLaren. There we go. That was less.
That was 4. Yeah, that's fine. Team orders bad, penalties 2. Or team orders and penalties bad. There. That's mine. If you've got a better 5-word summary of the Italian GP, please feel free to send them to us via all the usual methods. You can find us on all the social medias by looking at Back of the Grid. You can go to our website, backofthegrid.com, where there's a contact form. Also information on how to get involved with the Predictions League and the Fantasy Leagues as well. If you want to be part of our lovely Discord community that we refer to while we're recording, get access to live recording and obviously just being part of the show in a bit more of a deeper fashion, then head to patreon.com/back of the grid, where you can sign up to that, which will then get you access to the Discord. That is all from us for this week. We will be back next week to preview Baku. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.